A warm summer evening in Wayland, Massachusetts. The community was buzzing with excitement, preparing for the upcoming 4th of July holiday. No one knew that within just a few hours, their town would be shaken by a horrifying tragedy. The life of Lauren Astley, an 18-year-old fresh high school graduate filled with dreams and energy, came to a tragic end, taken by the very person she once trusted most. That night, her father, Malcolm Astley, received devastating news. Lauren's car had been found abandoned near the beach. He rushed to the scene, carrying a flashlight, walking the dark shoreline in desperation, calling out for his daughter. But Lauren was no longer there. At school, Lauren and Nathaniel Fujita had once been seen as the perfect couple. Nathaniel, the tall, quiet athlete. Lauren, the petite yet passionate girl loved by her friends. They had known each other for years and officially began dating during their senior year. A first love that lasted 3 years, filled with clumsy kisses and shared dreams of the future. But after the breakup, everything changed. Obsession, jealousy, and anger slowly twisted love into something deadly. On the night of July 3rd, 2011, Lauren left her home and never returned. Just hours later, her body was discovered in a marsh, showing the unmistakable signs of a brutal strangulation. The killer wasn't a stranger lurking in the dark. It was the young man who once promised to love and protect her, Nathaniel Fujita. This is the heartbreaking story of Lauren Astley, a young woman robbed of her future, all because of a broken relationship. Lauren was born on April 1st, 1993, in Boston, Massachusetts, the only child of Mary and Malcolm Astley, both teachers. She was the center of their world. From an early age, she was raised with values of honesty, kindness, and integrity. In 2006, her parents divorced, but they continued to share custody, always putting Lauren first. At 18, Lauren was bursting with energy and accomplishments. She sang in a band, played tennis and soccer, joined the church choir, performed with the youth orchestra, worked as a summer camp counselor, and even played the lead role in Annie at the local arts center. Her schedule was packed, but Lauren thrived on it. She poured her heart into every activity, rarely leaving herself a moment to rest. Lauren was the picture of a vibrant young woman with a promising future ahead of her. Standing at just 5 feet tall, she never let her petite frame define who she was. Her lively personality, radiant smile, and natural charm left a lasting impression on everyone she met. Her greatest passion was the performing arts. With a strong, confident voice, Lauren took the stage at countless school and community events. One of her most memorable moments was becoming the lead singer of her high school a cappella group, where the spotlight perfectly captured her joy and energy. But Lauren's life wasn't just about music. She organized events, joined charity efforts, and above all, was always ready to help others. Friends admired her sincerity and openness. Everyone knew that if they were in trouble, Lauren was the kind of person who would stand by them no matter what. Her selfless spirit showed early on. At just 12 years old, she traveled to New Orleans to help those who had lost their homes after Hurricane Katrina. And it didn't stop with one trip. She went back 2 more times with friends, proving that even at a young age, Lauren put the pain of others above her own comfort. These actions painted the portrait of a remarkable young woman, warm, compassionate, and determined. Lauren's light touched everyone. Her parents, her friends, her teachers, and even strangers she met only once. At Wayland High School, she wasn't just known for her achievements. She was recognized for the way she lit up every corner of student life. Sports, concerts, competitions, community events. Wherever Lauren went, she left her mark. With her bright personality, many friends saw her as a trendsetter, a role model worth admiring. It was during this time that Lauren began her first serious relationship with Nathaniel Fujita, the star of the school's football team. Nathaniel was tall, athletic, and cheered on by female classmates at every game. But as many believed, His heart belonged only to the energetic and charismatic Lauren Astley. Nathaniel was the only son of Beth and Tom Fujita. His father, Tom, was a gifted guitarist who had once taught at the prestigious Berklee College of Music. His creativity and reputation in the arts made him a respected figure in their community. In 2010, Lauren even interviewed Tom for a school project, a video that later ended up on YouTube. Through that connection, she quickly grew close to the Fujita family, often visiting their home and being warmly welcomed by Nathaniel's parents. For the first 2 years, their relationship seemed smooth. They played sports together, went out, and embraced the joy of youth. Many saw them as the perfect couple. But soon, the first cracks began to show. The relationship turned into a cycle of arguing, breaking up, making up. One day they were deeply in love. The next, they were distant, frustrated by even the smallest actions. Nathaniel, despite attracting attention from many girls, was intensely possessive and jealous of Lauren. He wasn't happy when she spent too much time with others, instead of focusing solely on him. Meanwhile, as senior year approached, Lauren started thinking seriously about her future. College, her career, and the life ahead. She realized Nathan was no longer part of the path she wanted to take. The constant tension, the endless fights left her drained. At 18, standing on the edge of adulthood, Lauren dreamed of something bigger. College, independence, new experiences, and meeting new people. She applied to Elon University in North Carolina, while Nathaniel chose Trinity College in Connecticut, where he had been recruited for the football team, a dream he had carried since childhood. The distance that lay ahead only strengthened Lauren's decision. Close friends, who had witnessed the growing unease in their relationship, even made a list of reasons she should leave him. His temper, his extreme jealousy, his aggression, and his lack of respect, even toward his own mother. And after much hesitation, Lauren made the firm choice to end her high school romance with Nathaniel Fujita. One chapter closed as she prepared to begin the next. In April 2011, on her very own birthday, Lauren decided to break up with Nathan. For her, it marked a fresh start, one of the happiest days of her life. It made sense. Both were about to head off to different colleges, ready to begin new chapters. But for Nathaniel, it was the opposite. He didn't see a future, only loss. College, football, the dreams he had long nurtured, suddenly, none of it mattered. The once energetic young man withdrew into himself, lying on the couch for hours, avoiding friends, and even abandoning his training. Nathan sank deeper and deeper. Alcohol and marijuana became part of his daily routine. Meanwhile, even after ending the relationship, Lauren still worried about her ex. More than once, she asked friends if she should try to help him, but the answer was always the same: don't. They warned her that any sign of concern might make Nathan believe there was still a chance to fix what was already broken. Summer 2011. After graduation, Lauren was eager to enjoy her last moments at home, surrounded by family and friends. To mark the beginning of a new chapter, her friends threw a huge party. Nearly 150 students and recent graduates gathered under a massive tent. In that lively atmosphere, Nathan, Lauren's ex-boyfriend, showed up. At first, he blended in, dancing, laughing, trying to be part of the fun. But as the night wore on, alcohol began to take over. Nathan drifted toward Lauren, trying to talk, hoping to rekindle a relationship she had already ended for good. Lauren didn't avoid him, but she stood firm. She made it clear it was over. To her, the past had nothing left to hold on to. She was ready for the future, for college, for independence, for everything ahead. But for Nathan, her rejection cut deep, like a blade to his pride. He couldn't accept that Lauren had truly moved on, and even worse, he couldn't stand the thought of her belonging to someone else. The more he drank, the more obsessive he became. Nathan followed Lauren everywhere, interrupting her conversations, blocking her from dancing with anyone else. Worn down, Lauren broke into tears, confiding to friends that Nathan would never let her go. That night, no one realized that Nathan's desperation and obsession were warning signs of the tragedy to come. With every passing minute, his anger escalated, fueled by alcohol. And when Lauren once again refused to talk to him, he snapped, charging forward and slamming his body into one of the tent poles. The impact shook the entire structure until it collapsed, sending the once festive party into sudden chaos. The tent was quickly set back up, but the atmosphere had completely shifted. It wasn't just Lauren. Everyone at the party demanded that Nathan leave. The night had been ruined. That evening, Lauren went home and told her mother what had happened. She explained that Nathan wouldn't let go, that he was furious about the breakup, bitter that she could still smile, still find happiness without him. For a while, things seemed to settle down. Lauren shifted her focus to the future, taking a job at a clothing store in the mall to save money before heading off to college. On July 3rd, 2011, Lauren worked the morning shift. Security cameras captured her entering the mall at 9:45 a.m., then riding the escalator up. At 6:45 p.m., her shift ended. The final footage shows her walking out of the building, phone pressed to her ear. It was the last time anyone ever saw Lauren alive. That night, Lauren had plans to go out with friends, but she never showed up. Her friends immediately knew something was wrong. This wasn't like Lauren. If she was running late or busy, she always found a way to let someone know. Her father, Malcolm Astley, grew concerned just as quickly. He knew Lauren's routine. She always came home to change before going out. But that night, she never did. A familiar pattern had been broken. Malcolm felt something was terribly wrong, and he didn't hesitate. He called police to report his daughter missing. Word of Lauren's disappearance spread quickly through town. Friends, neighbors, and the entire community sank into worry. Nobody had seen her since she left the mall, and unlike many missing person cases, police didn't wait. They launched a search immediately. Every sign pointed to one chilling truth. Lauren hadn't simply gone off on her own. That very night, only hours after Malcolm's call, a discovery sent shivers through everyone involved. Lauren's red Jeep was found abandoned at Wayland Beach. The windows were rolled down. Inside were her purse and her laptop. But Lauren was gone. When he heard, Malcolm rushed to the scene. He ran straight into the water, flashlight in hand, sweeping the shoreline as if he could still save his daughter. But Lauren was nowhere to be found. Her friends, devastated and desperate, stayed overnight on the beach, clinging to the fragile hope that Lauren might come back. At that moment, no one wanted to imagine the worst. Police immediately widened their investigation. They questioned family and friends, searching for anyone who might want to hurt Lauren. At first, no one stood out. But then, one detail surfaced. Lauren had recently broken up with Nathaniel Fujita, her ex-boyfriend. Lauren's friends admitted Nathan might have been sad, even heartbroken, but they insisted he wasn't dangerous. To detectives, however, jealousy and breakups are often powerful motives. They knew they needed to talk to Nathan. That night, officers knocked on the Fujita family's door. Nathan and his mother, Beth, answered. Nathan told police he had been home all day, a shaky alibi. He admitted Lauren had stopped by, sat in his car for a few minutes, and then left. He insisted that was the last time he saw her. The story sounded plausible. But investigators also knew that after the breakup, Nathan had spiraled, consumed by obsession and rage he could no longer control. Suspicion began to grow. In the weeks after the split, Nathan withdrew from the world. He slipped into depression, rarely leaving the house. His mother, Beth, was terrified. She brought him to therapy, desperate for answers. Nothing seemed to help. In a last attempt, Beth even went to the store where Lauren worked, trying to salvage some connection. She reached out to Lauren's former boyfriend, hoping he might calm Nathan down. but the spiral only deepened. And then, just one day later, hope ended in horror. At dawn, a cyclist riding near the highway spotted something glimmering in the dark marsh. She stopped, stepped closer, and froze. Floating in the water was the body of Lauren Astley, only 5 miles from town. The night before, Lauren's friends had huddled on the beach where her red Jeep was left behind, clinging to every possibility of where she might have gone. Fear consumed them. None could imagine that the girl they had laughed with just hours earlier was already gone. Lauren's body was discovered just 30 feet from the roadside, drifting in the water. When detectives pulled her to shore, the truth was undeniable. A collar was lifted, revealing a deep, fatal slash across her throat. It was Lauren Astley, only 18 years old. In her hair, a single elastic band was still tangled. The body was quickly transferred to the medical examiner's office. On the other side, her father, Malcolm Astley, still clung to a fragile hope that it wasn't his daughter. But then he had to face the brutal truth, identifying his only child. Lauren, vibrant, full of life, just 18 years old with her whole future ahead, was gone forever. Malcolm nearly collapsed under the weight of it. Yet another heartbreak awaited him, calling Lauren's mother, his ex-wife, to deliver the devastating news. Within moments, word spread across Wayland. Friends were in shock, insisting that Nathan, the boy who once loved Lauren, could never have done something so horrific. But to investigators, the evidence pointed in only one direction. After speaking with Nathan's family, they realized the breakup had left him spiraling. From that moment on, suspicion began to close in around Nathaniel Fujita. Nathan was no longer the admired athlete he once had been. After the breakup, he grew bitter, withdrawn, and even his lifelong passion for football no longer held him together. His mother, Beth, told detectives that she had even reached out to Lauren, hoping the young girl might talk to Nathan, lift his spirits, and bring some light back into his life. Perhaps Beth never realized just how strained things had become between them, and she could never have imagined how that meeting would end. Lauren, on the other hand, had already noticed the troubling changes in her ex-boyfriend. She felt uneasy, but out of kindness, she agreed to meet Nathan. Not to reconcile, but simply to help him move on. Security cameras at the mall captured her final moments. Lauren walking out of her workplace, phone pressed to her ear. Call records confirmed. She was speaking to Nathan. Lauren planned only a quick stop at his house before heading home to change and meet her friends. But she never told anyone about this plan. That silence sealed her fate. When she arrived at Nathan's house, his parents weren't home. Lauren sent him a single text message, letting him know she was outside. That text, sent at 7:05 p.m. on July 3rd, was the last message she would ever send. The last place she was seen alive was Nathan's house. And that detail became the first major lead pointing investigators straight to him. But by July 4th, when police returned to find Nathan, he had vanished. His parents insisted they had no idea where their son was. Still, the investigation pressed forward. Detectives needed solid evidence to prove Nathan's connection to Lauren's disappearance. They quickly obtained a search warrant for the house, starting with the garage. And the moment they opened the door, the sight was chilling. Clear signs that something horrific had happened. The rope tied around Lauren's neck had only been the beginning. Inside the garage, investigators discovered bloodstains smeared across the floor, clinging to the doorknob, streaked inside the kitchen sink, and even in the bathroom. Someone had tried to wipe it all away, but not carefully enough. In the basement, they uncovered a black duffel bag stuffed with mud-caked shoes. Up in the attic, accessible only by a ladder from Nathan's bedroom, lay more incriminating evidence. Blood-stained clothing, a pair of boots, and another set of shoes. The detail that stood out: the mud on those shoes matched the soil from the marsh where Lauren's body had been found. Lab results confirmed it, and even more damning, they revealed that the blood on the clothing belonged to Lauren. From that moment, there was no denying it. Nathan Fujita became the prime suspect. A warrant was issued, and just hours later, he was tracked down at a relative's house in a nearby town. Around midnight on July 4, 2011, police stormed his aunt's home and arrested 18-year-old Nathan Fujita for the murder of his ex-girlfriend. During questioning, Nathan refused to say a single word. Cold, detached. His silence stretched on for months until the case finally went to trial. On August 23, 2011, Nathan appeared in court for a preliminary hearing. When asked for his plea, he whispered, so faint it was nearly impossible to hear, "Not guilty." Prosecutors immediately suspected that his defense team was preparing a strategy centered on mental illness. Before the court, Nathan faced a string of charges: first-degree murder, along with assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. And it was here, for the first time, that the public learned the horrific truth. Lauren had not only been killed, she had been brutalized and suffered multiple injuries before her death. The night before the murder, Nathan had phoned his cousin, asking her to hang out. When she refused, saying she already had plans, Nathan flew into a rage and hung up on her. The next day, after news of Lauren's death spread, Nathan's cousin called him to ask if he knew anything. His response was chilling. He coldly declared that the murder weapon would never be found, but that wasn't all. Nathan admitted he had driven Lauren's red Jeep to a seaside parking lot, saying he just wanted to rest and spend time with her. Given the gravity of these revelations, prosecutors requested that Nathan be held without bail, and the court agreed. About a month before the trial, another hearing was held, where even more disturbing details about the suspect were made public. Back in 2009, Lauren and Nathan's relationship had been on again, off again. One night, Lauren attended a dance with friends. A young man there, who had once shown interest in her, was also present. After breaking things off with Nathan, Lauren decided to give herself a chance at something new. She danced with the man and even shared a kiss, but then Nathan showed up. In a jealous rage, he shoved the young man and coldly threatened to slit his throat if he ever came near Lauren again. Over time, that night at the dance faded from memory. Lauren's family and friends never saw clear signs of abuse in the relationship. Still, they all knew Nathan could be possessive, especially when drinking. Now, that confrontation, 2 years before the murder, suddenly resurfaced as a grim warning. When Lauren's body was discovered, bearing horrific wounds, Nathan's old threat carried a haunting new weight. It had been a prophecy of tragedy. During the hearings, Nathan's defense strategy became clearer: silence and a reliance on mental illness claims. Not a path to full acquittal, but a way to avoid the harshest sentence. On February 13, 2013, exactly 18 months after Lauren Astley's death, the trial began. From the opening moments, the defense attorneys admitted Nathan had killed her, but insisted the real question was how and why. They argued that after Lauren graduated, Nathan hadn't stalked her, hadn't shown up at her house, hadn't called or texted. Instead, he withdrew completely, isolating himself from friends, quitting sports, and avoiding contact. The change worried his teachers and old friends alike. The defense painted Nathan as a young man suffering from severe mental illness. His mother, Beth, recalled urging her son to seek help, leading to a diagnosis of major clinical depression. This wasn't just heartbreak from a breakup, it was a serious psychiatric disorder. A doctor had once recommended medication and therapy, but Nathan refused. According to the defense, Nathan was struggling with the shock of his breakup with Lauren and a series of repeated head injuries from high school football. Together, these factors may have pushed him to the edge. Even Lauren herself once feared that she would be blamed if her ex-boyfriend lost control or even harmed himself. From that point, the trial was no longer about who killed Lauren, but why Nathan had turned into a killer. On the night of July 3rd, 2011, worried about Nathan's mental state, Lauren Astley went to his house. The two stepped into the garage to talk. But in that fateful moment, Nathan spiraled into a manic frenzy and lost all control. He suddenly looped an elastic cord around Lauren's neck, tightening it, before slashing her throat in what the defense claimed was a state of madness, not a deliberate act of murder. Prosecutors rejected that narrative. They argued Nathan intentionally killed his ex-girlfriend because he couldn't accept the breakup. To them, this wasn't an uncontrollable outburst. It was a calculated and hate-fueled crime. The prosecution emphasized that this was not a crime of passion, but a premeditated act of revenge. On the day Lauren was killed, Nathan had repeatedly tried calling her at work and even dialed her cell phone 3 times. One of those calls was logged as Lauren left the mall after her shift. According to the state, Nathan lured Lauren to his house, taking advantage of the fact that his parents were away. And it was there, in the garage, that he carried out the killing. The autopsy revealed the grim truth. Lauren had not only been strangled and slashed across the throat, but her body also bore multiple defensive wounds. These marks proved the young woman had fought back with every ounce of strength until the very end. After murdering Lauren, Nathan removed his blood-stained boots, swapped them for tennis shoes, and walked more than 4 miles to a seaside parking lot, where he abandoned her red Jeep. In an effort to cover his tracks, he tossed the keys down a storm drain, but investigators later recovered them. Nathan then returned home, placed Lauren's body in a vehicle, and drove to a marshland. There, he sought out a spot more than 30 feet deep, convinced her body would vanish beneath the thick mud. But he was wrong. That night, Nathan showed no trace of remorse. Witnesses recalled seeing him return completely naked, driving with the windows rolled down and blasting loud music. Afterward, he meticulously cleaned the crime scene, hiding his blood-stained shoes and clothes, scrubbing down the garage, and calmly waiting for his parents to return, as if nothing had happened. This sequence of actions, prosecutors argued, proved that this was not a sudden psychotic break, but a calculated and deliberate attack. The defense called a forensic psychiatrist who testified that Nathan was incapable of understanding that his actions were wrong. He pointed to severe depression, chronic head injuries from football, and daily abuse of drugs and alcohol as the root causes. Nathan's attorney stressed that there had been no history of violence between him and Lauren, and that he had no prior criminal record. To them, this was a one-time, explosive act committed when Nathan was no longer in his right mind, but prosecutors quickly countered. Another forensic expert was brought in to evaluate Nathan directly. His conclusion was the opposite. Nathan had been fully aware of his actions. The level of planning and concealment proved he knew exactly what he was doing and what the consequences would be. The courtroom grew heavy with tension, and as the hearing came to a close, Lauren Astley's mother sat silently, consumed by a grief that words could never capture. A state medical examiner testified that Lauren may have been alive for several agonizing minutes, struggling as she bled out after being strangled and slashed. Inside the courtroom, at just 20 years old, Nathan hunched over and wept uncontrollably. It seemed only then that he began to grasp the gravity of his crime and the price he would pay for taking Lauren's life. Nathan's parents sat in stunned silence as they listened. They had never imagined that the son they had raised and cherished could cause such devastation. To them, Lauren was not just their son's girlfriend. She was almost part of the family. That reality made the pain all the more cruel. The Astleys had lost their only daughter. The Fujitas had lost the son they once trusted and believed in. Two families, once warm and close, were now left to confront a loss that could never be undone. On March 7, 2013, after a full day of deliberation, the jury found Nathan Fujita guilty on all counts. Justice was delivered for the Astley family and the prosecution, but the lingering question remained. Could any sentence ever ease the agony of losing their only daughter? As the verdict was read, Malcolm, Lauren's father, walked across the hallway and embraced Nathan's parents. In the midst of tragedy, it was a rare glimpse of strength and compassion from a grieving father who had just lost his child. Nathan Fujita was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, the mandatory punishment for first-degree murder in Massachusetts. Lauren's parents believed their daughter's death could have been prevented. From that loss, they devoted the rest of their lives to educating young people about the dangers of dating violence and breakups. Malcolm and Mary Astley founded the Lauren Astley Memorial Fund, a nonprofit dedicated to promoting the arts, strengthening community ties, and building healthy relationships. All the things Lauren herself deeply valued. Lauren Astley's case did not end simply with a life sentence for her killer. It left behind haunting questions about justice, punishment, and the possibility of redemption. In January 2024, the Massachusetts Supreme Court struck down the rule requiring those under 20 convicted of murder to serve life without parole. With that decision, Lauren's parents now live with the fear that the man who stole their daughter's life could one day walk free. But above all, this story stands as a stark reminder of the fragility of young love and the hidden dangers that can lie within relationships. Sometimes, the warning signs are there, but no one sees them in time. And perhaps the greatest lesson from this case is that tragedy doesn't only come from loss, but also from the things we failed to notice. If you found this story thought-provoking, follow us for more cases. Because every tragedy is not just about one life. It reflects the shadows within love, family, and society itself.